Very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the top of the air duct here. Go ahead and just pull this off. Then I'm going to pull the old serpentine belt off. So let's go ahead and start removing the duct just in case. I've got my mag bowl up here. I don't think that's going to be an issue though. So I'm going to loosen up this hose clamp. And then you're going to take this oil vapor hose, just disconnect that. And now you can hopefully just pull it off pretty easily. Might have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it off. So I'm just going to set this aside. Now to pull the belt off, what you have to do is, you see your little tensioner down there. You have to get either a socket wrench or a small breaker bar. Stick it into the bottom of the tensioner. There's a little opening for the head there. And then just rotate it like that so it relieves the tension. Then once that's done, you can go ahead and start pulling your belt off. So just go ahead and slide your wrench on the bottom of it. You might have to move the fan around, the blades around just a little bit to kind of facilitate this. And just go ahead and push it down like so. So while pushing down, all you have to do is, I'd just like to remove it from the top of the alternator. Go ahead and pull that loop off. And then all your tension is removed. Now if you're not replacing your serpentine belt, you can just go ahead and kind of leave it where it is and just kind of take this loop off over here and just get it out of the way. But I'm going to go ahead and remove it. So just throw the serpentine belt to the side or anywhere else you want to put it. Now as you'll notice, the power steering pump is in kind of a weird position. It's not too difficult to get it out of there, but we're eventually going to have to just kind of lift off the air conditioning compressor, just kind of move it out of the way. You can do that with it still hooked up, that's no problem. But there's 4 bolts here that you'll have to remove to do that. But what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is you'll see you have a line here. There's another line down there, just can barely probably make it out. Actually, you guys probably can't see it. Now, I can get to it from there, however, it'll be a lot easier to go around this part. And by that I mean jacking this end of the truck up, pulling off this wheel. So go ahead and remove your wheel. Just roll it out of the way. So now that we have better access, you guys can actually see that bottom piece right there. Probably not very well. So there's just a little hose clamp on it. I'm just going to pull the hose clamp down, pull that line out, then I'm going to get a bucket and put it right here. So with the line removed, everything dripped into the bucket. Had that ready. So now I can get started on the top. And so with the low pressure line removed from the bottom, we can now get started on the high pressure line. Now I just went ahead and loosened it with a regular crescent wrench. So go ahead and rotate it the rest of the way out. Yeah, it's not leaking very much. It's leaking a little bit out of the bottom of the reservoir. That's okay. I've got the bucket under there for that reason. Now the next part we're going to have to do here. Now what we'll have to do next is go ahead and remove, disconnect these 4 bolts on the top of the AC compressor. Now something else that you should take note is, as you can see, the control and power wire bundle right there. There's a small clip here on the back, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that with my clip remover. Let's go ahead and pry it out. So that's out. Now if you want, you can go ahead and disconnect the power bundle or power wires from the top of the compressor. Not really that big of a deal though, so I'll disconnect them if I need to. Also, you have a small bracket down here which is holding one of your lines on that goes into your compressor. So go ahead and disconnect it from down below, and due to the line being flexible over here, it'll be able to facilitate moving this guy around a little bit easier. So as you'll notice, you'll see 2 bolts right there, and then there's a third one right there below the line. Can't really see it all that well, but you do need to remove those 3 bolts, and that will free up your mount assembly. That will free up your mount assembly, and then you'll be able to move it around and hopefully pull it out. Now in order to do this, might be best to kind of put the high side, the high pressure part line, get that kind of out of the way. One trick I learned a while ago is to use a bungee cord. I'll go ahead and put another one on just for good measure, so all the weight's not on that one. I love bungee cords. Now with quite a bit of wiggling and messing around, I was finally able to get it freed out. So now I just got to find a way to get it out of here. So now with the assembly on the workbench, you can now finally get your pulley puller. Go ahead and hook it up. Now the way I went ahead and did this is this pulley's on here very tight, so I went ahead and stuck this nut, the flange nut, into the vise, as you can see. And what I did was, like this, with my breaker bar, I just went ahead and started tightening it, and as you guys can obviously tell, it's separating the pulley from the pump. Now if you want to see another way to do it, there are some videos on YouTube that you can find on how to remove a pulley. They all pretty much come off the same way, so let's get on with it. And now you'll see that you have these 3 bolts you have to remove from your bracket. So now your old power steering pump is removed. Let's get on to the next step, shall we? Now the first thing you should do is get your new pump and kind of measure it up so that it's the correct pump that's going on back onto your vehicle. You should do this with any time you change out an old part for a new part, just to make sure that you have it right. Just start threading your bolts back in. You don't really need to cinch them down right now. Now unfortunately I did break the old pulley, so I had to install a new pulley onto it. I just used the pulley installer and remover kit from O'Reilly's, and it worked out okay. So now that I have everything put back together, let's go ahead and put it back in the truck. You just kind of got to get your entire assembly here. You're going to have to wiggle it back in. It's kind of going to be probably about the same difficulty as it was getting it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the 3 bolts back in. Might have to wiggle it around to facilitate that part. And then now all 3 of them are now threaded in. So now I'm going to go ahead and set them down with the socket wrench. Okay, so all 3 bolts are put back in. Now I'm going to go ahead and reconnect the AC compressor and reconnect this bottom bracket. So now we can go ahead, reinstall the AC compressor, and there are going to be some dowels at the bottom of the compressor on the left side that it's going to allow you to line it up, but you do want to make sure that you're not going to get anything else in the way. And it is now in place. Now what I'm going to do is go from underneath the wheel well, reconnect that return line at the bottom, and then I'm going to reconnect this line here at the top. So it's really simple. Now I'm at the phase where I'm just putting everything back together. And so all you need to do now is, after you thread it on by hand, just go ahead and give her a good tighten. Now I can go ahead and put the new serpentine belt on. So grab your breaker bar, get it back into your tensioner, push her down, put your belt back on, and then just check it over, make sure everything's routed properly, nothing's overlapping. Now just top the new pump off with new fluid. And you are going to have to burp the system if you didn't flush it. Well, I guess you'll have to burp it either way, just to clear out, bleed out all the old, any bubbles that might have worked their way into the system. Now what you can go ahead and do is put the tire back on. Grab yourself your air tool. And so now that the truck's on the ground, we can do what hopefully will be the last step. And that's reconnect your ducting hose. And then we're going to go ahead